Morning, my loves. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Joey. All right, today we have the Hierophant. We took a couple days off. We had some snow days, so I had a snow day. So the Hierophant for me, it really represents structure. It represents religion, tradition. Um, the first immediate one that's coming to mind is like how people say grace before they eat, or maybe you meditate before bed, or maybe there's like a specific time that you talk to your ancestors, or maybe there's a specific time that you light a candle. Maybe you keep an altar space, and that is like one of your ways of honoring. Um, but similarly, it's just like how Christians go to church on Sundays. Islamic people pray at certain times of the day. So the Hierophant is not connected to any one religion, any one set. It is just really stands for a level of structure, uh, and really it calls for spiritual wisdom, and learning about different practices, different structures, and ways that people define and understand energy and spirit. And I believe that this is a very necessary precursor. Like when you start to understand, let me, for many people, it's very helpful. It is not necessary. You can figure out intuitively your own way of working with energy, and people do it all the time, and that's how these systems were created. But understanding how other uh, cultures and systems work with energy, I feel like really helps you come to an understanding to decide how you feel about it, and so that you can release the dogma and really kind of branch off and create your own, which is when we get into the Hierophant reversed, which is one of my favorite energies because I'm a rebel. But yeah, for me, the Hierophant is like the divine masculine counterpart to the high priestess. As you can see, he also has the pillars. He's also in the robes, but different colors. And for me, the Hierophant is more, I'm just gonna say, it's more like kiss the ring energy, like, oh, just sit and kind of do what you're told. And I don't really, this is a card I'm not gonna lie, I struggle with, but I do feel like the structure is like necessary. But I believe that we are so magical that a lot of times these dogmatic systems have people with outdated belief systems. They do serve their purpose, and there's definitely a need for structure and order in certain aspects of our society, but I struggle with that. So yeah, I think that they're represented well by the crows here, because if you've ever like watched a murder of crows move, there are certain ones that will be eating, and then there's other crows that will kind of keep watch, and then they will call to the flock, and there definitely is kind of like a hierarchy or like a structure to how they move. Um, but also it is like this energy of being the gatekeeper for knowledge, being gatekeeper to this connection to the divine, or being like the doorway for it, and having like a tangible route, for a way to people to actually like access and touch that, and to feel that structure, and to align themselves with that inner wisdom. Yeah, they're showing me this, and it's like this alignment, and it's like this crowning moment, like you're helping people really access this information. Yeah, what else? And it's like, and I'm hearing like the energy of the Hierophant is like foregoing previous ways. It's like, no, we're putting a stop to that. And it's like this higher order, like, no, we're rising, we're structuring. And so what else? The number five is coming through. The fact that it's the number five, it just very much gives me like numerology energy of growth, and like this up leveling, and it's like this midway checkpoint. And I feel like there's a specific reason as to why the Hierophant comes right before the Lovers, because the Hierophant is exactly like kind of what I was saying, where you learn and experience structure of energy, spirit, different people's beliefs, and it can really help you structure and organize how you feel. And then once you move through the Hierophant and step into the Lovers, then you can bear all of who you are and really access your own version of that up leveling. You can access your own unique codes, you know, given the spiritual wisdom that you now have access to from exposure to people who are also spiritually exposed. And I want to use that term loosely because it is often, oh, how do I want to word this? Sometimes people will use that as a shield for their shitty behavior, and I just don't believe in that. So I want to air quote that, because there are some people who genuinely have this level of spiritual attainment, and their vibration and their resonance is absolutely healing and amazing to be around. And there are some people who use the guise of religion, or who try to use that as a shield for their shitty behavior, for not being a good person. And so I just want to make sure that that is known. This is also, you know, so if this card came out in reverse, it would be a very good card about mentorship, or about someone who is kind of skilled in what they do. Someone, I don't know, it's very much giving like lawyer or priest, or like a Reiki healer, or and I say Reiki because Reiki is a very structured, disciplined practice of energy healing, unlike shamanism or like angelic healing, where it doesn't have as many rules. Reiki is very kind of disciplined in its structure. And so if you understand that, it's a good way to kind of put this. But it's also kind of like very a law and order energy. Yeah. And so it has its time and it has its place, but I am a big believer in breaking out of traditional systems and dogma, and going with not with what you're told you should be doing, but what you know you should be doing. And so, yeah, there might be someone else who can delve in deeper for you on the Hierophant that'll have a more enlightened perspective. But I feel like we're just in this collective shift away from structure and dogma. But you know, a large part of that I feel like is because these systems have been abused by people with power, and they have allowed their negative intentions to kind of taint a lot of the images that are held on these structures in society. At least from my perspective. But that does not stop me from seeing the validity in that energy. I also just want to mention if the Hierophant were coming out in reverse, for example, not only like in its best aspect, it could be you needing to really follow your own inner guidance system, your own inner compass, like really feel into that. But if it was, you know, in a shadow aspect, it could be that you are, you know, perhaps being sloppy, you're forgoing all of the necessary knowledge, or you're cutting corners, is what I'm hearing. It could also be that you're missing necessary information that you need to move forward, and that you need to kind of slow down a little. You know, it could be that you're not ready. You are not ready to step into a leadership role yet. Maybe there's more things that you need to attain. If you know, say you're asking about a job, or there's some sort of thing, you know, it could be like a, hold on, wait a minute, recheck in. But also, you know, if I were asking about like my health, or about some sort of legal issue, this would be my sign to go get help. And I just mean like professionally, like someone who really has experience under their belt in one way or another. So this one is going to be shorter today, guys. I'm going to just skim this book and just make sure that make sure that there's anything that pops out for you. Yeah, so the Hierophant, often it says that these are beliefs that we will establish in childhood. And so it really encourages you to really dig into the structure and the framework of that knowledge and really expand your belief systems and ask yourself questions and keep yourself curious about your physical world and your spiritual self and why you're here, and accessing your own teacher within. That's the part I was missing, is the Hierophant. Yeah, it's a card about accessing your own inner teacher within too. um Thank you, Spirit. I knew there was something in there for me. Yeah, so this could also be this energy of being called to step up in yourself and to really like come into like this level of power and being seen. uh, and I think whereas like the High Priestess, that energy, like she is seen, but she feels more secretive, more mysterious. Like this guy, it feels like he is trying to just be it feels like in a place of power almost, or like in a place of not as much power but leadership. I keep going to leadership, teacher. Like eyes are on you, people are looking towards you for the answer. And while the High Priestess is like that, I feel like she's more like a silent, like knowing and allowing, and she feels, versus this is someone who is more in their head versus their heart, I feel. Not to say that they're not utilizing their heart as well, but the High Priestess, she is more deeply in tune with her emotions, whereas this is more about the structure and how things are physically pushing through on it, and the physical structures of it bases like the mental and the subconscious structures. And there's a level of discipline with the Hierophant. Um, yeah, there's a level of physical discipline and like routine and practice. Whereas like they both, I want to just say they both embody both of these qualities, but to different ratios, is what I want to say. Is like there is more emotional discipline, I feel like, with the High Priestess, where she's kind of allowing herself, or maybe it's more emotional flow. Like the High Priestess has more emotional flow, and he is more disciplined in his emotions, where she lets it just kind of happen. Yeah, that feels a little more right. And he's trying to kind of control how he feels. There's this energy around that. Yeah. So I'm gonna stop right there for today, guys. I love you so much. Mwah.